Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys. Keep watching my videos, keep watching them, and keep liking them and subscribe. And please, just give all of them a watch, and maybe you'll watch some of the podcasts too. I am going to continue making these videos and continue podcasting. I haven't really released a podcast in a little while. I apologize for that. I've been kind of busy with some stuff going on in my life. New job. I'm working at Subway now, and all that fun stuff. So, so today I'm making a video on the other things that Curtis sort of told me, and was the force of transformation for me to open myself up to a wider understanding, to a new relationship with God, and to a point where God was moving me towards where I am now. And where I'm at now is such a beautiful, beautiful relationship with Him, and such a beautiful understanding of how He communicates that I want to share with you guys. So, the best way to do that is to share with you guys how I got to this point and let you guys experience it for yourselves, because that's the way to really finding out the truth. Is you have to experience truth to understand truth, to know truth. You have to experience it. So, I'm going to tell you guys the other things Curtis told me. And I want you guys to feel free to comment on this video. Feel free to even message me on Facebook if you have my personal Facebook. I will be creating a new Facebook for this project too. Feel free to ask any questions, or to have comments about what you want to see in the future of this. Just go ahead and show your speak your mind, show your support, and please like and subscribe. So now I'll get started with Curtis and the things God revealed to me through him, the baby steps that Curtis was a vessel to sort of give to me. So the second thing, major thing that Curtis told me, and that Curtis allowed me to really open my mind up towards and remind me of while I was on this hitchhike, was he told me that I need to ask what I can do for Mother Earth and humanity. He didn't tell me to ask him. He didn't tell me to ask my parents. He didn't tell me to ask anyone. Really, he told me that I need to ask God. I need to pray. And that I need to ask God what I can do for Mother Nature. Mother Nature and humanity. So, asking God, that's just prayer. It's as simple as that. And, why Mother Earth and humanity? Why those two? Because, if we destroy Mother Earth, then we destroy ourselves. And why humanity? Because we are the what's the word? The stewards of this earth. We are the stewards. We take care of this earth, and it's our home. It's what we do. We are stewards of the earth, and God gave us dominion over it. So therefore, we should treat it with respect and love, and show kindness, show maturity in our stewardship. So he told me to ask God what I can do for Mother Earth and humanity. And that sort of reminded me that prayer is important. I hadn't been praying very, very much on this trip. I was never too into prayer. Actually, until I accepted Jesus, I really dug into prayer a lot more. But I do have times in my life, or I did have times in my life at this point, where I was doing some praying. So that sort of reminded me, got my thoughts back on praying and the importance of prayer. My whole purpose on this journey was to figure out what I'm here for, what I'm meant to do. I figured that I was going to become a shaman, and I was going to be be a healer and some sort of holistic healer, a shaman, and get into all kinds of crazy dream work and stuff like that. I figured that even though I didn't know exactly how it worked, I was going to be freeing people from the darkness that they had opened themselves up to. It's really interesting because that's exactly what I'm doing with this project. That's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm just not doing it in the ways that shamans would normally do it. I'm not bringing people truth. I'm not bringing people my truth in a way that is shamanic. I'm bringing people my truth in a way that, well, is much better than if I had been doing shamanic work. So I realized that I hadn't been praying enough, and that I should pray, and that if I'm to find my purpose, if I'm going to find my purpose, then I need to ask for it. I need to show God that I want it. And I didn't even really know what my idea of God was at this point. If it was this non-impersonal energy that the Buddhists and Hindus believe in, or if it was Jesus. I didn't think it was Jesus at all, actually, at the time. Or if it was something else. I wasn't sure. So the interesting part of it all is, though, I went out with this intent to find my purpose. And in Crestone, later on, you remember Curtis was bringing me into Crestone. So he was the first Crestone local that I actually met while I was there. He was the first local that I was in contact with, and he told me this, and I ended up figuring out partially, non-specifically, what my purpose was during the ceremony that I had mentioned in previous videos around the fire in the teepee, the Native American ceremony. And I forget what tribe it was that ceremony was, but it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony, and I found out my purpose during it. So it's interesting. Answers are given. God answers us when we pray, and sometimes we have to be patient for those answers, but we have to be persistent in prayer and showing God that we want it. We can't just pray once, and then if we don't get an answer right away, throw our hands in the air and say, I'm done with this, I'm done praying, I'm done asking about this, I'm never going to get an answer, because you won't get an answer if you do that. You have to be persistent and, wait for God to answer you. Wait for you to gain that clarity and that sort of understanding of what God is telling you about these things. Even if you're just praying to know God better, then you'll get to know God better. You just have to keep up with it, and you shouldn't give up on God, because He always answers. And that's one thing that I know with confidence now. Everything that happened to me was all leading me up to this point where I am right now. It was leading me up to the point where I have the clarity and I have that confidence that I have now. And I'm not being tormented anymore. I can't be tormented because I can't let those things get to me anymore, because I'm just so thankful and so grateful for everything in my life. Even the stuff that doesn't seem too great, I am thankful for all of it, and I understand now why God has done those things to me, and why God allowed these things to happen, rather. Why God allowed these things, these horrible experiences to be brought into my life, whether it was the injury or whether it was the dark thoughts that had sort of entered and been messing with me for a little while, and greed and things that were just embarrassing to me to think about, that I didn't know why something like that would even come to my mind. So now I know with confidence that when I ask God questions, I am going to get an answer eventually. And if I keep asking, then I will get an answer. If I stop praying to God, if I stop praying and asking Him for what I want, for what I want to know, for what I want in my life, and for what I want to do, then I will never get an answer if I just drop it. If I just drop it without getting an answer and I don't expect God to answer me, then I probably won't have my eye out enough to see that answer when it comes. But if I keep that in my mind, if I keep understanding that God is going to answer me, then the answer will come and I will realize it. Pretty much for anything that I ask now, seek and you shall find, ask and it will be given to you. So even though, you may not get exactly the answer you wanted and intended, you will be answered. And a lot of times in my life, there have been things that I was asking about that I already knew in my heart. And, another option for video is sort of getting in touch with our intuition, how we know that we know, how we know that this is something that we are aware of. We just may not want to accept it right away. There's a lot of questions. People have questions. It's human nature. So now I'll tell you, besides asking what I can do for Mother Earth and humanity, asking God and bringing prayer back into my life, Curtis did teach me one other thing. And this feeds into, very, very much so, feeds into the previous question. It feeds into asking what we can do. He told me that I need to listen. He told me that I need to keep my ears open, keep my senses open, keep my eyes open, all of my senses. Keep my senses open and listen. And I believe what he's really trying to tell me was sense, understand, sense, and feel, be aware and be present and to just sit and listen for the answers in whatever way those answers might make their way into our lives, in whatever way God may present His answers. Be aware of it, hear it, look out for it, watch for it. So he told me to listen, and it's as simple as that, the one word. That one word changed my life, and I believe, it can change many other people's. If you see the depth in listening, if you can understand the depths in listening, then you understand how healing it is for people when they need to let stuff out to us. But you can also understand that when we truly listen, then we get more depth sometimes than what even the person in front of us is saying to us. And I was getting that depth from Curtis. I was getting the depth that he was putting into his words, consciously putting into his words, and imparting to me. And I believe that there is depth in everything that we listen to. If we truly listen for that depth, to recognize the depth that is behind the words that are being said to us, what they really mean, not what the superficial message is, but what the deeper message is in everything that we hear. If we listen for that, then we can hear it, we can understand it, and we can get those answers a lot easier too, a lot of cases. And one thing that's important to understand is that it wasn't Curtis that knew everything about me. It wasn't Curtis who knew that I needed to hear these things. It wasn't Curtis that knew why he was... Curtis didn't know what these words that he said to me, what these three things were going to do for me. What knowing that I didn't know anything, what asking what I can do, asking God and praying was going to do, and what listening was going to do in my life, how big of an impact that was going to have on me, as far as finding my purpose and, taking those steps forward to where I am right now, anchored in with a solid foundation. Those words he was just saying to me, casually, I guess. He was saying them to me in a way that he was just doing his best to give me some value while I was in the car with him, and I got that value because I was willing to accept what he was telling me and apply it to my life. That's important. You have to apply the things that you learn from other people. Otherwise, where's the value? What's it going to do for your life if you're not changed in any way? If your actions don't reflect what you've learned. So, one thing to understand is that as far as listening goes, God gave us ears so we can hear. God gave us ears and allows us to hear. It's all because of God that we can hear in the first place. So if we use that sense, that hearing, along with all the rest of our senses, sight, touch, tasting, hearing, smelling, if we use all of those senses in a way that we're looking for the depth, we're looking for what God might be telling us, and we are looking for the deeper meaning behind life itself, then God rewards us with that deeper meaning. If we listen for it, if we choose to sense it, then we truly will. And it takes practice. It does take practice, but it's something that we can practice constantly, finding that depth in everything that is said to us. So understand that God can speak through all things. God can speak through a leaf turning over. God can speak through a small phrase on a card. Rejoice always, pray continually. This card just really impacted my life the other day. And I've looked at it 1,000 times, but I looked at it one other time just a few days ago, and it really just changed me. It changed the way I saw that, because I saw the depth in it that at that time. Everything God can speak through. Everything God can speak through is limitless. The things that God can speak through are limitless. So understand that God could give you an answer through the next person you meet. God could give you an answer by looking at yourself in the mirror. God could give you an answer by the book that you're going to read. God can give you an answer through anything. And it's while I was in Crestone that I discovered more specifically, more in depth, what my purpose was, because at this point I didn't have any clue really what my purpose was. I thought that since I was so attracted to shamanism, that I would be doing that, but I wasn't positive. But when I had that experience in the teepee, I knew for a fact that this was true, that this is God's answer to what my purpose in life is, to love people, to express that love, and there's an even deeper there's an even deeper meaning behind all that, even now that I've discovered. And that is, I'll just tell you right now, that is when we are loving, when we are expressing love truly, authentically, that's when we are most real. That's when we are truly ourselves. That's when we are closest to the soul that we are, closest to the reality of who we are. It's when we're loving, when we're when we're spreading positivity, light, joy, kindness, all the fruits of the Spirit, patience. That's truly us, and it's important to understand that love is our most authentic thing that we can express. Love is our most authentic part of ourselves, because God is love, So please feel free to like. Please feel free to So anyways, Curtis told me, the other two things Curtis told me are ask what you can do for Mother Earth and humanity, bringing that prayer back into my life, and allowing me to truly ask God for what I wanted. And I did pray, and I did receive answers. And now I'm doing that pretty much every day. And he told me to listen, and applying that to my life. If I was just praying and I didn't take the time to listen and to seek that answer out, to realize how God was answering me and all the ways that He can answer me, which is through anything He can answer us, then I would have never, if I didn't know that, if I didn't take the time to listen, I would never have really received those answers. I wouldn't have been open to them. I would have just been waiting for a direct answer, I guess. A more linear answer, a more direct answer to make its way into my life right away. But no, patience and listening are important. Patience and listening. It goes along with all the senses, because He could answer through any of your senses. Even if it's a smell, He might be able to answer through any sense that you have. So listen and ask and listen, and you're set. You now know how to communicate with God, and God will teach you more and more how to do that and how to apply that to your life, and He will teach you more and more how He speaks to you. It's very non-linear. It won't be word for word as much as you think. It will be, He won't usually, God usually doesn't have a booming voice coming from the sky and that sort of answer. I wouldn't expect that to happen. At least I wouldn't expect that to happen to everybody. But when we listen and we seek that depth out, when we are looking for the depth and looking for the virtue in the words that people in front of us are saying, and the messages that might be being given to us through anything in front of us, through anything that we are sensing with any of the five senses, then we can start to understand that God is communicating with us all the time, and that everything we do, say, and think affects the world around us. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. When you have negative thoughts, how is that affecting the world around you? Probably negatively. Every positive action has a positive reaction. Every negative action has a negative reaction. So you kind of want to stay away from those negative things going on in your head. Don't get too caught up on them. You want to stay away from those negative influences in your life. Don't get caught up on those, because that's only going to bring negative influence. That's only going to bring hurt, and it's going to dig a hole for you. So keep it light, keep it positive, and just really, really sense, really listen. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. My prayer for you till then is that you see God moving in the world around you, that you hear God speaking to you every single moment, because He does communicate with us every single moment. And please feel free to to use all of your senses, to apply all of your senses to your communication with God, to your understanding of how God is speaking to you. And my prayer is that you understand what God is trying to teach you every single moment, what God is teaching you, should you choose to accept those teachings. So, side note, I have a Bible study coming up. It will be on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock till 5:30. It is a youth group Bible study. There is also an adult Bible study that's going on Thursdays. I believe that is at 4 o'clock. I believe that is actually at 5 o'clock. So this Bible study, if you would like to see me and talk to me and sort of go in depth, I am doing the youth Bible study on Wednesdays at 4, and I will be at the adult Bible study when I can. That is at the United Methodist Church in Montello. And farewell till then. Thanks for watching this video. Peace and love, guys.